All right, I'm going to take some photos and you're going to take them with me. Maybe take some photos with me at your house and we'll do a chatty work with me. So I am setting the timer for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 45 minutes. Let's go. All right, so this chatty work with me is going to cover 2 main topics, but I'll also just answer some random YouTube questions comments that I've gotten. But the 2 main topics, one will be unusual for me because it's not something I do on this channel and it's not something I will continue to do, but I felt like I needed to make an exception for this time, which is addressing some criticism, some inaccurate information that some random person is spreading, not only telling me, but also spreading on other YouTube channels, at least one that I know of, maybe more. And I think you'll understand why I just wanted to briefly address it, spend a few minutes talking about that in case anyone else is concerned about the same thing or has the same thought that they do, which is, again, incorrect. But the main reselling topic will be why I've deleted hundreds of listings in the last few months, why I'm trying to get from over 1,500 active listings to under 1,000 active listings. I've talked briefly on Instagram and YouTube that I'm decreasing my inventory, but I don't think I've really explained why. So I'm going to take some photos and... So I tried filming this to talk about the false accusation, but I got a little rambly because I was distracted and I don't want to waste too much of your time on this topic. I would rather get into the reselling topics. So I decided to do a quick voiceover while editing to explain the situation a little bit more concise. So basically, there was someone who left a comment on one of my videos from a month ago, falsely accusing me of spreading parvo through items that I was shipping out. They don't know the time frame of my dog. I never even shared the adopted shelter pup for over a week after getting him. The only reason I shared him in the first video was because it was a sponsored video, and sponsored videos are typically filmed 1 to 2 weeks before they even go live. I've had one take as long as a month of going up because of requests for changes. So the timeline on social media is not how you see it. This week alone, I filmed five videos and I'll probably film 2 more for 2 of my channels, and those videos will be scattered and go up at different times in the next few weeks. So if I'm showing a dog one day and I show another video another day, those 2 videos technically could have been filmed 3 or 4 weeks apart. And so the person basically thought that I had a puppy near inventory that I was shipping out. And yes, parvo is highly contagious. I have followed every single detail order from my vets. It has been an incredibly stressful couple months, and I have not done anything to put my dogs or any other dogs at risk, specifically spreading parvo that potentially kills other dogs. And while I'm fine with any feedback on my channel, because I can't hide it if I don't want to respond to it, and it doesn't faze me, the moment someone takes that criticism and those false accusations to other YouTube channels and leaves false accusations about me in the comment sections of other channels is where I draw the line, because they're just trying to stir the pot and they don't actually know what's going on. So the reason both of my dogs had to stay apart for over a month in total was actually mostly for the respiratory illnesses, which those symptoms lingered for a very long period of time. And I played it safe and actually went a few days past what the vet recommended just to make sure that Luna didn't get a respiratory illness, because while that's not deadly, it would have been really annoying to have another sick dog. I don't care if people criticize me. Not everyone is going to like me. I'm okay with that. I don't like everyone on YouTube. That's just life. And if you want to be here and want to watch my content, I try to stay honest and true, share the good and the bad. And while I was sharing tidbits of my life, specifically around a new puppy, that's not the core aspect of this channel. I'm not making a detailed parvo video. I am simply just giving little snippets of my life while also trying to keep things together, keep my life together, keep reselling, keep making YouTube content. And it has been really hard the last couple months, but I have been trying my best. So I will not tolerate someone making false accusations against me in general, but I also will speak up if someone decides to, take it too far. And in my opinion, this person did. So I appreciate 99.9% of the people that comment and watch this channel. I have really tried my best the last couple months to keep things going during a very busy real estate time. And I'm just so thankful that the majority of you are just so great and supportive. And so that is what happened.
I am so happy to have 2 healthy and happy pups. I would also just like to point out, I buy stuff at the bins where I've seen dead rodents and all sorts of gross stuff in the bins. I buy stuff at thrift stores where I don't know where that product is coming from. And as a reseller, we take a risk bringing in used items to our houses, which is why I steam and or wash all of my clothing items when possible. And I try my best to keep things safe for my own house, but also ship out things in a safe way. If I ever purchase something from my own personal closet, I always make sure to launder it, dry clean it, because I don't know where it's coming from. And I hope other people do the same thing. So that's all. Moving on to the next topic.
So, what else? All right. And I'm sorry, I wish there was a way for me to like back this up more, but there isn't. So I have these fun things. So my second topic, or the main topic that I wanted to address, is why I've deleted a whole bunch of listings. And Courtney, you just keep listing. What's the point? I think a lot of people were just bothered. 22 by 27. A lot of people were just bothered because, at least on Instagram, because I was posting things about, like on my stories, about me donating stuff. Like, I'm donating, 100 items this weekend. And I was so excited to like get rid of stuff. And I think people, resellers in particular, are like, but you can make money off of that. What if you send it to ThredUp? What if you take it to buy, sell, trade stores? What if you have a yard sale? What if you do auctions? All of this stuff. And I think as resellers, we naturally are wanting to make money off of things that we can flip. And most stuff can be flipped. But I think for me, having been a reseller for almost 5 years, I haven't really done an inventory clear out. And so back up, basically a few months ago, I was shipping something and it had sold for like $6. And I was so excited because it was an item that had been in my inventory for 4 years, which is a long time. It sold for $6. It's out of my inventory. I was so happy to just like, you're gone. But it also, after fees and after all that time, I'm sitting here going, I made a couple dollars back, but did I? And what I mean by this is I pay for an eBay store. And an eBay store, depending on which one you have, costs different amounts. Makes sense. So I don't know all the details of the different stores, but there's a starter, there's a basic, there's a premium, there's an enterprise. I don't know if there are any others. Maybe there are, but those are the ones I remember off the top of my head. And I was paying basically about $60 a month for the store I had. And they made some changes, I want to say like a year ago. Anyways, I could list up to 10,000 items where I wouldn't have any excess or extra listing fees because I could go up to 10,000. Anyways, they all have a lot of details. I'm just summarizing for this. But did I take a picture of the material tag? I did. So I was paying $60 and it was time for my annual renewal. And they said, hey, we're going to keep the same store. But if you want to change your store, now's the time. They didn't say it in those words, but that's how I interpreted it. So I went and looked at the store details again. And I was like, okay, I could come over here and pay, I think it's $26 for the store below me, but you can only list up to 1,000 items, or you're paying 25 cents for every extra listing on top of that. So then I was doing some math and I'm like, okay, if I sell 3 items a month that are older than a couple years, low dollar, old sales, nothing special, I am making some of my money back. But if those items aren't listed at all and I can decrease my store and pay less of a monthly fee for that store, that lower store, would it kind of basically, am I paying that for that extra store just to sell some old items that won't sell for much and it's just going to be a wash? Like it's not going to really be any profit. And in a sense, that's what it is. That's what I was doing. I had about 400 items that were lower dollar that had been listed a long time and they just weren't selling. And maybe they would someday, but they aren't selling quick enough. And so I just decided for my business, for my sanity, and also just to have some motivation, 21, 27, 21, 27. That I would not run a whole bunch of auctions, not worry about the stuff, have a yard sale, any of that stuff. Life's busy. I don't live near buy-sell trade stores. No one comes to yard sales at my house because I'm in a rural area. None of that made sense. I just wanted to get rid of stuff and kind of have a fresh start. Not a fresh start on inventory, but just start making progress to decrease my inventory so that what I have listed is worth being listed, and that I just start having more awareness of inventory. And if I brought down my store level to the 1,000 mark, I would be paying less per month. I could still go over if I wanted to, but it would cost for each extra listing. So that would force me to think about it. But in a sense, it would just help me clear out some old inventory. And sometimes that's really nice. And, I think that it's been a journey the last 6 months, basically, 6 or 7 months, where I've gotten a lot busier with real estate. I've made more money in real estate this year than I have on all of my other revenue streams combined. And I'm trying to, I burnt out in January. I'm trying to figure out how to balance everything. And one of the things that I decided to do after January burnout was just scale back on reselling. And I'm not doing terribly on reselling, just, I don't have to list 10 items a day. I don't have to list 5 items a day. List when I can. If things are so chaotic that I can't list for a couple days, so be it. No one, nothing's going to be terrible about it. I think I just took a photo. Oh no, I did. Okay. Sometimes I'm very proud of myself when I do what I'm supposed to do and I'm distracted. So basically, I wanted to clean things up. I want to list a little bit less, but list stuff that maybe is going to sell for a higher average sale price. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we all are adapting to life, to changes in our business, to, changes that we want to make. Maybe you are tired of selling clothing and you just want to focus on shoes. You can do that, We all have the right to just do what we want. Did I get a material tag photo? I don't mind filming these, but sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe I hope people don't think that this is how I am when I'm not trying to talk and focus at the same time. I promise I am. This is why I just put in headphones or just put on a podcast where I could just be distracted and not have to focus on too much while I'm doing this. But anyways, so the moral of the story is if you're paying for extra for a store and 400 listings aren't really moving. It's just, to me, maybe if I was didn't have real estate, didn't have YouTube, and I wanted to grow my inventory to 3,000 or 4,000, then it would make sense to pay for that extra store. And it would make sense to maybe hold on to some stuff. But I was just in that window where it didn't make sense financially because it really wasn't adding any profit. It was just kind of a wash. So that's what I've been working on for the last few months. It's been great as far as, sanity, just getting rid of stuff. Some stuff, it's just been amazing. Wow, you've been listed for 3+ years and you haven't sold and you're cute and you're something that maybe I would pick up at the bins today. It's also why I'm just trying to get a little pickier as I'm learning by pulling stuff that, it doesn't matter. I don't know. 17, I just took the measurements and I just forgot. This is why I have to repeat myself, because if I don't, then I'm a scrambled mess. All right, so those are the 2 main topics. I hope that wasn't too long or too crazy. I've got to repeat okay, so at 17, we're gonna remember together. 1725, 1725, 1725. I know I'm not the only one that does this, but 1725. I can't remember things long-term or short-term. So, it's just one of those things. 1725. I wish I had that skill. I've learned the older I get, the more I've realized that I'm actually just not that good at multitasking. I can function juggling a lot of different things, but I'm better if I just kind of hone in, focus on something, get that finished, and move on. And also find ways to not get distracted. hence timers and stuff like that. Also, not reselling related, it's warm today. We're having a little bit of a heat wave, low to mid 80s, which is kind of warm for this time of year. But I'm getting my air conditioner in a week. So this might be the last toasty, chatty work with me that you will see on this channel. Please. So I'm so excited about it. I think it's going to be really nice this summer to be able to turn that on the hotter days, still keep the windows open on nicer days. And yeah, all right. So some other questions that were in comments that I thought I would talk about. Hopefully the mic is not muffled. It was the other way, which was my problem. All right. So a couple questions I got in recent videos that I thought I'd just answer here because other people might want to know. I posted what is it called? A vest, a Patagonia vest on my Instagram page. And I don't post on my page very often, but I was just really excited. It was my first day back at the thrift in like 6 weeks. Because of the puppy, I wasn't able to thrift for a while. And so I think I got everything. Oh, the material tag. Why do I keep forgetting the material tag? So it was my first day back at the thrift. When I went into the thrift, I was like, wouldn't it be great to find like a really good Patagonia or a really good Johnny Was? I don't know why. Those are always my kind of two. I think it's because I can find those brands often enough that it's possible, but I don't find them often enough that I would like. Like I would like to find them more, and I just get excited about them if they're like a good piece. Obviously not like a Patagonia base layer, but like a Patagonia outerwear. So I posted it on my Instagram because I found a Patagonia vest that was kind of a good piece, and I was excited about it. So someone commented, I don't think I responded, but I saw it, and they said, do you wait to list your winter items until fall and winter? And I've been asked this before. I don't mind repeat questions because you may have forgotten what I thought, or you may be new here. But I do not wait. I don't have the capacity to remember those types of things. As we can see, I can't even remember a number for more than 2 seconds. So for me, no, I'm going to move these off of the steamer because the steamer can only, isn't this a cute little bag? I'm going to photograph those when I'm done with the mannequin. So no, I do not wait to list for in-season stuff. The reason is I sell on eBay. I sell internationally, not often, but occasionally. South of the equator is the opposite season as us. I've sold winter coats in July, and I've sold bikinis in December. Things sell all year round. And sometimes when I list out of season, I just kind of price it up just a little bit, just in case I'm going to do a price drop before the season. But for the most part, no. In fact, 3 days ago, I sold a jacket for $100, and I listed it the day before. And it's not like a winter jacket. It's not like a puffer or anything, but it's not a spring summer item. It's a fall winter item. And it's some designer I hadn't heard of. I listed it, sold the next day. Mind you, half the country's warm. So I don't wait. Not to say you shouldn't. If you have the ability to keep track of that stuff and you have a method system that works for you, so be it. But I will list things when I get them. And also it's because hold on, I've got to remember, 21.25. Also, remember, I photograph everything before I put them in hauls. So there's only been a couple exceptions to that in the last couple of years. But for the most part, everything is listed by the time a video goes up. So if it's in a thrift haul or a bins haul, it's going to get listed because I don't know, it helps me stay motivated to get things listed. It helps if someone wants to buy something that they see in the video, it's already listed. I don't do direct sales. I don't have to worry about that. It's listed, it's done. And that's my process. So that was that one question. Someone asked me on a YouTube comment, what are the best bins and thrifts in LA? I get this question every few months. I either get someone who sends me a message and is like, hey, which usually people are really sweet. Is that a little spot? I think that's a little spot. Okay, J. Jill, you're going to get a wash, a little stain treatment. So sometimes people will message me and say, like, especially on Instagram, and say, hey, I'm coming into LA. I live, work from wherever. I am not trying to, share your honey holes or anything, but do you have any really good thrifts in LA that I can go to while I'm here? And it's always a hard thing for me to answer. 1924. We've got to focus on this before I forget. 1924. So it's always a hard thing because I don't want to disappoint the person. I think it probably should be common sense that even YouTubers are just trying to find inventory. I'm not going to share my favorite thrift stores. It's just, I go thrifting so little. I live so far from thrift stores that, I've got my favorites and I'm not going to plaster them on YouTube and then all of a sudden I can't find anything at them. But I understand what they're saying. If they don't live here, they probably will never go back. They just want to check it out once or something like that. I always feel bad because it's I don't really have, I have my favorite thrifts, but I have bad days at those. And the thing about LA that I don't think a lot of people realize until you get here is LA is massive. I could tell you my favorite thrift store here, and you could be over in Long Beach and it could take you 2 hours to get to my favorite with traffic. So it's just so so spread out. So, and most of the time people just say, I'm coming to LA. Even if you told me oh, you're coming to Anaheim to go to Disneyland or something that is touristy and would bring you to California. I don't have any favorites in Anaheim. I've gone to plenty of thrift stores in Anaheim. I think I did a thrift with me in Anaheim once. But I don't have a favorite. Maybe there's a favorite now. I never really know how to answer it. So if you've ever messaged me and asked, I'm sorry. The bins thing, I don't have a favorite. They all have good days and bad days. Some days I'm okay going to the big bins is what I call them, because I'm okay with the crowds and the chaos and I'm prepared for it. Other days I want to go to a smaller bins location, but it might not be as quick of rotations. There might not be as many clothing items. So none of them are perfect. I think most people prefer the one near Glendale. Atwater Village is what it's called. It's on San Fernando Boulevard. It's the biggest bins location in LA. And yeah, I would say if you want to stop by a bins in LA, and you're a clothing reseller, that would be maybe a good one to go to, but it might be way out of the way for you. And as far as thrift stores, I would just say, wherever you're at, go on Google, closest thrift store to me, thrift stores near me, whatever you want to search, and just go to a few, some of our mom and pop shops, the non-big name thrift stores, mark things up way more than some of the big name thrift stores, and some of them mark things less. Most of them mark things up for some things because they've got high rent and, wages are high. And so, I don't mind. We just have expensive thrift stores. It's an expensive area. That's just the way it is. But you can still find some really epic brands that make it worthwhile. And I still find plenty of stuff that's not marked up that they just don't know about. So, all right. I feel like I'm out of breath because it's toasty. Okay. So what is the next question? So there were some people on my last Chatty Work with me that were saying this is why I don't cross list. This is why I'm scared to cross list. Now I don't want to cross list. And if you haven't watched the last video, I got suspended on eBay. It was my fault. I owned it. Some people still were upset at me. I think I did a reasonable job explaining I don't necessarily agree with how eBay's system is broken down, but I do appreciate that they hold sellers accountable because I don't think sites like Poshmark hold anyone accountable, and that's frustrating as a buyer. So anyways, in that video, I got in trouble because I had sold some stuff on Poshmark, forgot to remove them from eBay, and canceled for the wrong reason, got caught. It's a reason that many YouTubers suggest. It's a reason that even eBay employees have said to use in the way I used it. It is what it is. I'm not going backwards. I'm not dwelling on it. I was sharing to hopefully be helpful to others. That was it. And I didn't have to share it. but I thought it might help someone. And from the comments, it sounds like I maybe helped a few people out, but there were plenty of people that were like, this is why I don't cross list, because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get kicked off. Someone said that this is why I prefer Poshmark, because they're more lenient. eBay does have leniency. There is a room of error. Is that the right? That's not the right way of saying it. Something of error. I went past that because when you cancel, those stay on your account for a year, 12 months. And I think I had only canceled 2 other things, and I had one that was I needed to cancel, and so it would have been my 3rd cancel, and that would have knocked me off of top rated status. It is what it is. Again, not going back to that video. All I'm saying is to anyone who's afraid to cross list, I would take a 3-day suspension. I mean, I'm made some mistakes. I owned up to it. I learned from it. I think cross listing is way worth it. Because when I have a bad weekend on eBay, I usually have a good weekend on Poshmark and vice versa. And some things just sell. And that's the other thing. Someone asked me, how do I decide what to list on what platform? I don't decide. I cross list everything. The only things I don't cross list are like a printer. Yes, I have sold a printer on eBay. I didn't cross list that to Poshmark for obvious reasons, but pretty much everything gets cross listed. I don't think about it. And I'm really good at removing stuff, but 2037. But just the other night, or just the other day, rather, it was evening, but I was with a real estate client, and I don't have the best to sell service around my area. And when I was with them, I got a notification that something sold on Poshmark. And I immediately went on to eBay to go remove it, but I didn't have enough cell service. So the eBay app wasn't opening up. It was just not opening. And I still had to deal with my real estate client, but I couldn't delete it in that moment. And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to forget about this. This is how that stuff happens. Life happens. You might wake up, like the other day I woke up because I noticed that the pup, this was probably a few weeks ago, but it feels like yesterday, the pup had some accidents in his crate. I've got a camera in there. I was in bed. I noticed that there was an accident. And so I panicked and I got up and I grabbed my phone because sometimes I'm just going to go sit with him. And I realized something sold, but I was so distracted by him that I didn't delete it right away. Now I remembered a little bit later, but those are those times when it's like, I'm not trying to make mistakes. Ooh, sorry, that was loud. I'm human. Life happens. And I do wish there was a better system for these apps to have us remove things, because right now it is kind of a manual process, but I try my best. And then I make mistakes, and then sometimes I pay the price, but I still think cross-listing is worth it. All right. Someone left me a comment. They said they just started on Poshmark in February, and they're not doing great. Any tips? So I don't really make content here specifically for new resellers for a couple of reasons. I think there's a lot of bad advice out there. I think a lot of people are just making content to make content, and they say things that just are not accurate, and I don't want to contribute to that. I think it's a lot of trial and error, and I think it's what you can do for your business. Meaning, if you're in a small town like I am, and you're not willing to drive to a big city, then you probably are going to be dealing with a lot of bread and butter. Maybe you're going to have to deal with some vintage. You're not going to be finding a lot of designer stuff probably. Not to say never say never, but it's probably not going to be as often as you want. So you're probably going to have to design your business to work with what you can get your hands on. So maybe you order some wholesale to mix that stuff in. Maybe you do like I do, travel a couple times a month to a big city and try and get some stuff like that. Maybe you focus on selling hard goods and not clothing. Whatever it is, a lot of it's trial and error with your situation. So I don't really give tips or make that kind of content, partly because I don't watch it. It's like you watch that stuff your first month or two on Poshmark, and then you move on. Then you're just going for the most part. So, and there's so many videos out there. So anyways, as far as your situation, if you're watching, trial and error. And also it takes time. I feel like, so here's an example. an article popped up on my phone the other day, and it was an article, I think Business Insider. If I can find it, I'll link it below. I think it was Business Insider. And the article was this girl, a Poshmark seller, and the title of it said something like she researched trends and made $119,000 in sales on Poshmark last year or this year or whatever. And I'm like, okay, let's go see if this article, they share the cost of goods, because you can sell $119,000 worth of stuff. You also could have paid $80,000 for it. I'm not saying she did, but if you don't know someone's cost of goods in any reselling space, those numbers are meaningless. You could shop exclusively at the bins, make $50,000 in sales, and after fees and your cost of goods, if they're really low, you could probably make more profit than someone that's selling $100,000 worth of stuff. It all depends on how much you pay for an item and what it sells for. Any extra costs, maybe you have a warehouse, maybe you have employees, all of that kind of stuff factors in. But for the most part, cost of goods is really helpful to know. So I went to this article, and sure enough, nothing about cost of goods, which is not surprising. And to be clear, 1824. To be clear, I haven't had friends. I've known or talked to a couple of resellers in the past who have YouTube channels, and they have told me they don't share their cost of goods. They have various reasons of why. I don't quite understand it, because if you are trying to help people, it's helpful to know. It's helpful to know when someone's willing to pay up for something, and plenty of people do. It's helpful to know if you're losing money, if you're huge profit, if it's just average profit. It's just helpful to know. So I won't fully understand why someone doesn't share cost of goods, but I understand there are people out there that just choose not to, and that's their choice. We all have that right to share what we want. But in this article, it was like a side hustle. You're making $119,000, but then they did say she was sourcing online predominantly. And so then it's like, that's not a spot, that's a little fuzzball. So then I'm like, okay, you're sourcing on Poshmark, eBay, ThreadUp, also some retail arbitrage. And I'm sitting there going, your cost of goods could be $20 an item, and depending on how many items you sold and for how much, you could have made $40,000 in profit, but it looks great when it's $119,000 in sales. It's also very deceptive. I think those articles sometimes make new resellers, like the person who started in February and is feeling down. It makes them feel like they're a failure when they're not. There's so many different factors. If you just started 2 months ago or 3 months ago and you're comparing yourself and your sales to me, do you have the same size inventory as me? Do you have the same brands and price points as me? Do you have the same listing every week as me? There's so many different factors, So I just think that sometimes those articles or videos that don't share the reality, like the full picture, can really be discouraging for new people in reselling, because it makes it look easier than it is. When in reality, a lot of us are just sitting up in a hot loft. Did I mention I'm getting my air conditioner? Sweating and just trying to take pictures when there's other things I would rather be doing. But this is how we build a business and keep a business going, is the work. Okay, I'm going to switch to pants because that's what I have steamed right here. And I do not need the mannequin for that, but I do need the correct hanger. I've used these hangers for a long time. My mom got them for me like 4 or 5 years ago, probably 4 years ago, and they're just clear. And there's the hanging one, and there's this one. They're very secure. I have like 6 of each, I think. Anyways, they just don't have a lot of grooves or texture. They're not a distraction. So when you're taking pictures, they're not very distracting. Although some people like the fancy hangers as a little accent. I just want it to be as bland as possible. I'm a bland person. I also need a drink of water. It's actually not bad outside. It's just heat rises. And I did film this yesterday morning when it was cooler, but here we are. This is part of life. Okay, please tell me Sometimes the lighting, it looks like there's a stain and then you're like, that's not a stain, that's just a shadow. Okay, so I think I answered that question. Tips, just keep going, keep listing. Most of my stuff takes 3 to 6 months to sell anyways. So if you've only been selling for a few months, you know, just keep going. And find people who don't make you feel bad to follow, that aren't flashing crazy things that make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Just find some normal people. And find people that maybe are kind of newish like you. That was one thing I did. I still keep in touch with a couple of resellers that we started approximately the same time. And I still follow them. And they're great. And I love to see all of our progress. So, all right. Someone left a comment because I was talking about shipping. And a shipping situation where I was a buyer. How much time? I have 5 minutes. Where I was a buyer and the person charged me $12.50 for shipping a blouse that was less than 12 ounces. When I did the calculation on my end of how much it would cost to ship with an eBay label, and they did use the eBay label, it was going to cost less than $5.50. I think it was like $5.20 something, less than $5.50. And she charged me $12.50. And I didn't notice it when I went to go buy the order. Did I just take a picture of that? This is my first time finding Curve Love, Abercrombie and Fitch. Also, I really hope this, I'm going to move the camera really quick to make sure. Okay. Sometimes my phone will shut off, and since I can't see the thing, it's facing the other way right now. I just want to make sure I was still recording. Sorry for the brief movement. My first time finding Curve Love, Abercrombie and Fitch. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I would have preferred maybe a denim, but I'll take this creamy pair of something. Anyways, so shipping. The person basically left a comment and said they ship on eBay, but they don't have a scale. And they hoped that, they said, well, maybe this woman was shipping because she doesn't have a scale and she's, you know, charging more for shipping because they're shipping priority. Well, she didn't ship priority. She shipped first class. I saw the label. It was from eBay. So again, I can do the calculation myself. And I called her out on it. She did give me a refund of like $4 or something like that. Still, she made like $4 in profit off of my shipping label. But I think it's 100. It's actually what I did when I started. Did I? I actually recommend that to people. I did not get a back picture. That's actually what I recommend to people is if you want to start eBay and you're overwhelmed. Okay, this is funny. I took a front picture of the last 2 items, but not any of the side or back. So we're going to have to keep going with that. So if you want to start selling on eBay and you don't have a scale and you are overwhelmed by figuring out shipping, which is 100% understandable, ship everything priority mail, flat rate. It's all one rate. If the person messages you and says, hey, this is a high shipping, just say, hey, I only know how to ship flat rate. This is the cost. You can see it on USPS site. Hold on, 14 and a half, 14, 11, 28, 14, 11, 28, 14, 11, 28. If you're wondering what I'm writing on, these are my whiteboards. So anyways, the girl who's shipping using priority labels, that's what I did in the beginning. My first 10 or 20 items on eBay were all shipped flat rate, and I charged flat rate shipping costs because that's all I knew how to do until I got a scale and figured out shipping. So I think it's totally fine if that's what you do. And hopefully someday you'll figure out shipping, but maybe that'll just buy you some time so, you know, you can get started and get the ball rolling and kind of figure things out. All right. I feel like I only have a couple more minutes and then we're going to jump into personal update. I did film a personal update with the dogs yesterday, but I don't know if the mic is still broken. So it might be my update from yesterday or it might be today, but I hope this video, talked about a few things, explained a few things reselling, but also to anyone who was concerned about the dogs, things I was shipping out, the recovery journey, any of that stuff. I hope by me explaining this put some of that at ease. I share a lot of my life online, and sometimes I forget what it's like to be on the other side, but I also am human and I would never do what that person did, which is come at me making those assumptions without like asking or giving me the benefit of the doubt. And I certainly would never go on anyone else's page and try and stir up stuff elsewhere. I just think it says a lot about that person. So to each their own, but the timer is about to go off. I hope you enjoyed this photo session. Toasty photo session. Maybe this will be my last one, but let's go take a break with the pups and get some water. I know, bud. I know. Are you happy I am down here now? Are you? I know. Thank you. Oh gosh. Okay. You just want to collapse on, I know. Can I sit before you try and collapse on me? I know. Thank you, bud. All right. So this is the angle that I'm going to work with because Luna, can you come out of the sun? The sun is reflecting. Do you want to be in the video? Do you want to come sit by your friend? All right. So personal updates, if you're still here. Right, bud? This guy is just turning in to be the most annoying little pup. And that's what we want to see, right? Luna and him have been having a blast ever since I had to wait. Boo, come sit over here. Oh, you just want to come sit back over here. Okay. Ever since they've been able to play together, so I had to wait after he had, do you have a broken tooth already? Oh my gosh. He had respiratory symptoms, the coughing and sneezing for a while. And that, what the vets were telling me was, he's still contagious with that respiratory stuff, airborne. And so even though they were sharing the same house, I tried to keep him out of the central areas, especially if he was having a coughing or sneezing fit. Okay, you are just adorable, but let's come back here. You're like, he jumped off a fence already and fell over 4 feet. So I'm surprised he's alive. It's been crazy. So anyways, once he stopped having symptoms that weren't just like a little sniffle here from allergies and stuff like that, I had to wait a certain amount of time until they could play. And that was torture because he was starting to get his puppy energy and Luna was desperately wanting to play with him. She, I think, kind of understood when he was pretty sick. I think she kind of understood that she could see he was physically not well. Like she could see when he was sick with parvo before he went to the hospital. She could see that there was something very clearly wrong. He also was very lethargic and, all that stuff. When he got back home from the hospital, he was obviously much better. He spent a week at the hospital. So, we rode out the rest of those symptoms, but his sneezing and coughing, runny nose, the respiratory stuff, especially the coughing. The coughing was the worst part. But I had to keep them separate. And, that stuff, I was keeping them in 2 separate rooms, and then I would take him through like this main area out to his designated side yard, and Luna would use the main yard because I've got 2 fenced areas. One's over an acre, one is just a little dog run by my kitchen. And I'm really glad I designed it that way because I thought in my head when I first moved here and I was getting my fence put in, I just wanted an area that if Luna needed to go to the bathroom at night, like pitch black, she could go somewhere and not go too far because there is a bunch of wildlife here and I don't need her or any of them, getting eaten by a bear, which we occasionally have bears here. So I know, are you just loving your life? I know. So they're doing really well. Luna is a grumpy girl. She's a grumpy old lady, but she's been doing really well. I mean, she will correct him at times, which she should. He is pretty annoying in the first thing in the morning and she's like half asleep and he's like trying to chew her ear and all that stuff, but they're doing really well. They have these moments where they'll start playing and she's a very aggressive player and he's starting to not keep up with her because he's still, half her size. But how big are you now? You are lanky. You are awkward and lanky. If I had to guess, he's probably about 30 pounds. When I got him, he was 25 pounds. Then when he was in the hospital, he got down to 20 pounds. That was the parvo. And then, it's been, I don't know how long since he's been better, but he eats very well. I'm trying not to overfeed him because I did have a little bit of a scare I overfed him a little too much and then it, came up. But anyways, he's a happy pup. He just doesn't know any manners. So that's the dog update. Luna gave me a scare as well because she's been eating these small rodents in the yard, which I think are called voles, Voles, smaller than moles. And she likes to dig for them. And normally I'd be like, oh, it's pest control. But especially this time of year when people are spraying for weeds, there's a lot of poisons out there. I don't spray. I don't think any of my direct neighbors spray, but there's a risk that if she eats a rodent that's been eaten bait or something like that, that she would potentially get sick or die. So she just thinks it's fun to catch them. And then she doesn't just catch them and kill them. She wants to chomp down and eat them. And she doesn't have the best recall. So there was one day where she got really sick and I thought I was going to have to take her to the vet, emergency vet. I'm so tired of dog problems. Also him jumping off the fence. That was the other thing. So I have my little side yard. I was out doing some weeds, dealing with weeds in my main yard, and I put the dogs in the small yard. But do you want to come over here or you want to sit in the sunny spot? I think you're going to stay there. So, when I was trying to keep the dogs separate, I had some barriers at the two fence area, not at the fence. I was trying to keep them away even at the fence. So Luna would be curious and would want to see Soren. Well, if I saw her come up on one side of the fence, I would take Lauren to the other side so they wouldn't be too close in air proximity. I was trying to take everything very seriously. And so I put some barriers. There's two entrances to that side yard. I put some barriers. One on one side was this thing that holds my hose. It's like a box. And I put that on one side. Well, Soren decided he liked sitting up on the box, especially if I was on the other side of the yard that he couldn't get to me. And one day he decided, without me looking, that he was going to climb from the box. So it's a 4-foot fence, climb from the box, which is probably 2 feet, and then jump off this 4-foot fence to get to me. And I did hear a squeal, and then I saw a puppy at my feet. I then realized he jumped the fence, because at first my instinct was like, did he push the fence open? No, he jumped it. He scaled it. So anyways, needless to say, I moved the box, so that's no longer there. Hopefully he doesn't learn how to scale a 4-foot fence, which some dogs do, and I really don't need that in my life. But he seems to be just very intent of being near me. So that was that. So now I'm not keeping him in the side yard if I'm doing weeds because I don't need him panicking and trying to, but overall it's been going well. I mean, I don't have much patience for critters. I didn't have much patience for Luna. The difference was that I could drop her off at puppy daycare when she was young. So I got breaks. I took her to work one day a week I was in San Francisco with her for 3 months. And my job at the time was a startup and it was a dog friendly office. But because she wasn't potty trained and I had to sit in a lot of meetings, it was just too much to bring her to work every day. So I would take her to puppy daycare 4 days out of the week, and then I would take her to work 1 day out of the week. And that 1 day out of the week, I was just a hot mess at work. But people loved it at my job. Anyways, so I got a break from Luna quite a bit when she was a puppy because I worked very long hours. I just don't seem to get a break from him. So just have little patience. Like, there comes a point where I'm just like, you're going down the yard, and I just can't. So I appreciate people out there, which actually I'm filming this on Mother's Day. And, I have a lot of respect for my mom, who dealt with 3 daughters. My sister, she's got a couple kids, and, anyone out there who takes care of anything, whether it be a human, a critter, whatever. I have a lot of respect for people who do that stuff, which I think most of us do, take care of something, but I'm exhausted. So that's the puppy update. Real estate, I had 2 escrows close last week. And so in this year, I've had 4 escrows close. I've made more this year in real estate than I have with all of it, eBay, Poshmark, and YouTube combined, which is kind of wild. So who knows? I might not have any more escrows this year, but if I were to get some more escrows this year, it's looking like my strongest performer this year will be real estate. But I am glad that I do have other income streams, and It has affected my YouTube. It has affected my reselling a little bit, but not too much. I mean, I just don't have too much time to spend. Like, I used to overanalyze YouTube, not too much, but I would have more time to think about it. Now I don't even look at metrics. I don't even, like, at this point, I'm just like, can I put some video content up and can it be helpful and somewhat easy for me to do? And, reselling, I'm not listing as much, but I'm trying to use my downtime to keep listing, and I still enjoy it. And the good thing about having reselling and YouTube on top of real estate is there's highs and lows. And right now I don't have any open escrows and I'm enjoying the break. That could last 2 months. It's not a buyer's market right now, and I mostly deal with buyers. So with this time that I'm not doing any real estate stuff, I can really go a little extra on the other stuff, but also just kind of have better sleep and take some time, just to chill. But the good thing is that I can walk away from buyers, like real estate buyers. So recently there was this weird situation where I got 2 calls within 50 minutes of each other, 52 minutes to be exact. So I got a call and a voicemail from someone. I was doing something, so I didn't pick up. And then I got a call and a voicemail from someone else 52 minutes later. Well, I heard both voicemails at the same time, and one was a real estate agent, just said he had a referral. Can I call him back? The other was a potential buyer. Him and his wife were looking for some real estate up here from LA, and could I call him back? I didn't call back in any particular order. I just called back the first one I clicked, which was the real estate person. Needless to say, what I found out was that he was referring the people that just called me. Now, I'm an honest person. I'm not going to try and steal someone's lead. If it is in fact a referral, what he told me he did was he had these friends. Mind you, he only lives an hour and a half away, so he could have totally helped them. I'm still not clear on why he didn't, but he went to YouTube and found my videos, and he wanted to vet me. So in real estate, if you're an agent, you can refer to another agent. So let's say you are watching this, and let's say you live in Iowa. I'm not licensed in Iowa, but I can help you find a realtor there, and I can get part of their commission. So you could call me and say, hey, Courtney, I don't have a real estate agent. I want to buy a home in Iowa. I trust you. Can you help me find an agent here? What I can do, and what some people, like some real estate agents, their whole business is off of referrals, is they'll research an area, they'll make calls, they'll talk to a variety of agents, they'll vet a real estate agent for you. And hopefully the goal is that the agent, me, would have a better understanding of what questions to ask, what things to look for. And I could narrow down your search to maybe 1 or 2 people. And then I tell that person, hey, I have a potential buyer. Do you take referrals? And typically you negotiate a referral fee. It could be anywhere from 10 to 30%. Most of the time it's 20%, at least in my area, but it's negotiable. So that means just by me vetting different agents and finding a great agent for you, I would get, if you buy a house with them, I would get 20% of their commission. 20% of a commission here, like an average commission for me is basically $7,000 to $8,000. That's a couple $1,000s that a referral could get for basically just connecting 2 people. I don't take referrals. I don't need them. I have people calling me from YouTube, and I get all of my commission, except for what I pay my broker. But anyway, so this guy, he wants to refer these people that already contacted me. Now, they shouldn't have contacted me first, but what he told me was that they wanted to know more about this area. He found me on YouTube. He sent them my videos, and that they should not have called me first, but will I sign the referral agreement? He's asking for 30% of my potential commission. Well, the only reason I originally agreed to it was because their price point was $650. So I'm like, okay, well, if he took 30%, it's basically me selling like a $450,000 house, which is not a bad sale. I'll still get a decent commission. But then I showed them houses the next day. I spent a few hours with them, and I found out they found me on YouTube. He didn't. So he lied. And I'm also just like, he didn't do any work. And he was also calling me every 2 seconds trying to get this document that he misspelled. He took too long to get to me. They should have never contacted me in the first place directly. They should have waited for him to give me their information. The whole situation was a mess. But finally, I lost it because I was busy with another client one day, and he kept calling me and saying, like, please call me back ASAP. Well, he's nervous that I've now shown properties to these clients of his because he doesn't have a signed referral agreement, which he should have gotten before I ever was connected to them in the first place. So he went about it completely wrong. But I decided to walk away from him. I was like, you were not only asking for 30% of my commission, even though they found me on YouTube, you didn't do anything. And now you're constantly trying to bother me with questions and with updates. If you want updates, ask them. You're not going to get any more of my time when you're already asking for this large referral. Anyways, I decided to walk away from them. And then he was snarky. So I responded to him and told him, like, I would love to help them. They were very nice, but you're asking for way too much of my time and way too much of my commission. I hope you find another agent that could potentially help them. He responds, he's like, well, then don't contact them ever again because you don't have a signed referral agreement. I'm like, that's your fault. That's your fault. You should have gotten that signed before I ever had their information. You don't know what you're doing. But anyway, so I walked away from them because I think it's just, I don't know. It was just, the whole situation was weird. Plus, when I met them, they were not sold on this area. They didn't like either house. They were very nice, but I'm not convinced that they were even going to work out. So then it was just, So anyways, real estate is a lot of fun. And it has been a really busy year, but I'm very thankful. And I'm super thankful that it complements reselling and YouTube. Very thankful. So on that note, Soren, do you want to say goodbye? Luna? No one? Okay, they're just going to snooze. I am going to get some more work done, but be sure to hit the thumbs up if you liked this video. Honesty, transparency, and just me being me. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye. What are you dogs doing? Are you enjoying your sunny spot? Were you enjoying Luna's bed? Is that what's going on? All right. Up, Soren.